Here's how we're going to run the panel. We're going to have the 7 deadly sins, of course, and in between we're going to have a couple little, I guess, mini games, activities that will be relevant to the panel. So the longer you stay, the more fun you get to have, right? So to begin about myself, I am Technodono. I'm one of the 4 directors at Fingermaps. We do map publishing. I have been map jamming and judging for 6 years, which you might know from some of my popular works, including Beboxed, which came 3rd place in the Yeggs Map Jam. This is a very popular map. We've got Temple of Terrors, which came 2nd place in the Miniman Map Jam. Not a lot of people know that. And also Lightbox, which came 2nd place in the Minecraft Maps Jam. This is not minecraftmaps.com. This is actually minecraftmaps.net, which is now a closed down site, but used to be run by my good friend Deal, who you might know because he's done all of the summit graphics across the server and also for the title card of the live stream. So when we get in, I don't want you necessarily to take this as gospel. This is just a guide to help you improve your map jam consistency and learn from the mistakes that I made. Map jamming, most importantly, takes intuition and experience, so keep on trying even if you fail once. Now, we've got a little activity time. It is the Summit Jam theme announcement. So all of you guys, we're going to pretend that you guys are in the map jam, and I want you to think about what your dream map jam map would be. Just think of what idea you'd do for the map jam for about 60 seconds, starting now. Give it time. And then once you're ready, you can just sound off in the chat. You don't know the theme, but just think of what you'd want to do for as a map jam map. All right. Okay, you guys got all your ideas locked in? Give me a yes. Excellent. Alrighty. We're gonna move on. So the jam theme announced in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's earthworms, guys. The jam is about earthworms. And so we're gonna move on to sin 1, which is big dreams and disappointing ends. So obviously you guys are already upset about the fact that you didn't get to your jam ideas. So the jam theme, that's because preconceived ideas, they are deadly disasters. You do not want to think about what you're going to do for the theme before you start doing the jam. And the reason for that is because people are stubborn, right? You're going to take your original ideas, you can see the theme earthworms, and you're suddenly going to go, oh, how can I bend my idea into earthworms? And usually that ends up being in some really janky way, or it confuses people from the theme of earthworms. For example, if you were doing car driving game and tried to throw worms in there by having a worm on the dashboard. Anyway, and don't try to fit your ideas into the theme unless you got lucky and you did guess the theme. I've only guessed the theme once. I've seen 1 or 2 other people guess the themes, but that was only when there was money on the line. Anyway, so the thing that I like to say is the forget and let go method. So you're always going to come into a jam and you're going to start fresh mind. You don't want to be thinking about the jam beforehand, even if it is tempting. You know, a lot of people, they get anxious. And, you know, it takes a while from the jam announcement to get to the jam. So a lot of people, you know, they have ideas. So yeah, and dedicate the first 2 hours of the jam to ideation phase. So you're going to get into the jam fresh and you're going to come in with your team. 2 hours just spent thinking about new, fresh ideas based on the themes, not based on what you were thinking you were going to do before the jam. Alrighty, next sin 2, the big plan. So I'm going to explain to you what a big plan is, or what a lot of people think it is. And this is this big jam idea which I had. It's called Adventures of Steve, Hostile Takeover. We've got a full 20-hour story. Battle your way through the Creeper Fortress. You can see here the lovely little Creeper Fortress with Monsieur Creeper. We have 20 different open world areas for the jam. We have many different types of custom creepers, full OST, and 100 collectibles and unlockables. Doesn't that sound amazing, guys? You think I can do it? You think I can do the idea? Well, no, I can't do the idea. Because big ideas, they leave big gaps in quality. Okay, so we're not trying to focus on making big things. We're trying to focus on making things that we can do within the constraints of the jam. Usually that's 3 hours, but some jams, they'll have 1 week for you to operate on. And so what I like to say is that the only plan you should have is a main mechanic plan. And when I talk about main mechanic, some people call it MVP, but this is just a lame-o game dev terminology. So we're just going to call it a main mechanic plan. And that's basically create the map so it very basically functions. So the example, and if you ever played Flooring Complex, we have the main mechanic that you can water plants, right? So we have a basic log, which is meant to represent our seedling, and you have a wand, which is going to be our water bucket. And then when you right click on the water bucket, it turns the seed into a flower. And so this is the main mechanic, right? Because you just have an adventure map where you go around watering flowers. Next one, another example is this 2D puzzle. So the main mechanic here is this little guy here, and we created a little character controller, which basically moves the character around the map. And so it's very basic, just get the map to a minimum working state where the guy is moving around the levels. And we additionally also have the MVP extended to include being able to swap out levels and theme styles as well. And the third one, this is from Momo, and this is for a 2D side-scrolling action adventure, like a platformer, like a Mario game. So here we have the before and we have the after. So this is a little armor stand, and we just have it controlled using a simple WASD and obviously space for jump. I believe this was before the predicates came out for the movement keys. And then from here, you can see at the end of the jam, so we've got the basic MVP, the prototype, and then we go in and we beautify it. And then we've got this little guy. We've got our robot, which is our playable character. We have the cool little block, which you see here. And we have flags, which act as checkpoints. Yeah, laser pointer. Laser pointer, cool. Okay, so I always say the 1 day rule for the main mechanic. If you can't make the main mechanic in 1 day, then don't even bother trying making the main mechanic because you're going to fall behind and you're not going to finish the jam on time, right? And if it needs more than 1 day, consider the scope of the project and look to reduce it. So make your project smaller rather than doing a big mechanic and then having to cut later. So another activity, we're going to do coding with caveats. This is a cool game show, and we're going to correctly correct the commands like I can. So, and this will lead on to the next section, starting off with command 1. Execute as at A, at A. How do you think we're going to simplify this one, chat? Correct. I see a lot of that. Execute as at A, at S. Lovely. Alrighty, next one. Execute as at E, tag equals type equals. All the vendors will know this one. Yes, type first. So we're going to put type first, and then we're going to put tag first. I didn't actually know that one till this summit, so, you know, call me out. Alrighty, data merge entity at S. This one is a little bit trickier. Do you know what we want to change this one to? Yep, I see it in the chat. Data modify. Modify is generally faster than merge, so you always want to use it. Yeah, I know I capitalized the D. Who cares? Okay, execute as at N, run execute. This one's going to hurt a lot of people. People don't know what add N is. Remove the execute. Yep, you're right. We're going to remove the execute. Excellent. Then we've got execute as at S, run function. This one, if you didn't know, this one might be tricky. Yep, remove execute. We're going to just simplify it to function, right? We don't need to execute as an S1 function. Function already runs as the selected entity. And then the final one, and this is going to trigger some people. Oh my god, guys, look at this. How are you going to update that, bro? No way you're doing that in a map jam. You see, look at this guy. He's looking at there, and he's got the face of like a thousand grins. All right, so you guys try avoid this, please. We're not going to do that. And that goes into Sin 3, which is developing disasters. So we take a look, we keep it simple. Good code is clean code, all right? We don't need to make some overcomplicated stuff. We just need to make the basic, very small code that works. Additionally, also, we're looking to make our code performant. So where we can, we use loot tables on custom items, right? Loot tables are good because we can update a loot table globally, and all of our loot give commands will give the item with the updated stats. We also have advancements as well. Advancements for detecting things like, for example, the interaction entities on the Smith server use advancements to track as opposed to a function which checks their data. And additionally, also we have predicates, and predicates are good for detecting like players touching ground, players in water, and whatnot. So it's always good to use those. And we're going to have folder mania, which is basically that we want to group our functions into sort of little managers. So the way I like to think of it, for example, ooh, keep it complicated. No, we ain't keeping it complicated. We're keeping it simple. Folders, 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 folders. Yeah, lots of folders. And we're going to have folders for each of our different systems. So I like to, for example, in my jam, we'll have a game manager folder, which handles the game. We'll have a UI manager to handle the UI on the screen, for example. And then also we'll have other functions, for example, like an item manager for giving and removing items. We can have like a lobby manager for sending players to the lobby and whatnot. And these different folders are there basically just to help you understand what your code does. And for other people that come in, you know, looking at the different parts of the code, they'll go, oh, this is part of the game manager, right? This is how that works. Or, oh, I need to edit the UI. Where do I go? I go to the UI manager, right? So now we're going to talk about modular code. Ooh, akin to building with Lego. I'm so right. It is akin to building with Lego. And modular code is basically the basis of how most map jams work. Yeah, we all love Lego. We all love Lego. And so we're going to talk about two types of modularity here in map jams. And the first one is going to be the jigsaw example. So when we think of like a jigsaw puzzle, right? We're going to start off with the centerpiece, or we start off with the corner piece, and we're going to build out from there, adding little bits of jigsaws. So if I give the B box example, which was a map jam map, so we have a little guy here. His name is Blobby. He's a cute little character, and we make the character controller, which is the main mechanic for the jam. So from there, we have a character controller, but we need to add puzzle elements, right? So we have a little box. And so Blobby, he can click on the boxes and he can turn into the box, which allows him to move with a box. And boxes, very basic puzzle mechanic. From there, we add on to there, right? What you need to do with boxes, you usually put on buttons, right? So to add into our system, we add a button system, and that button system we add to connect to everything else, right? So Blobby, he can trigger the buttons. The box can trigger the buttons as well. And then of course, you've got the button and you're like, oh, but he's pressing the button. What's the button going to do, right? So we have a button open doors. Yes, and you could extend this out to most stuff. Like for example, only in a box, we can add like a lava grate where only the box can get past, but not our little slime friend. Or even in the game, we have grates as well, which the little slime friend can get through, but on a big box, right? And so we're going to talk about the second one, which is the pipeline example. And this is basically just the whole main mechanic bundled into one sort of factory where you put in all the ingredients and you do the first process, then you need to do the second, then you need to do the third. So when I think of a pipeline, let's think about a fun magic game with a projectile, right? So we start off with our projectiles because projectile-based magic is always awesome. And we have a little magic bolt and it has its properties stored on it, right? So it has the speed that the bolt is going to shoot at, it's got the damage, and it's got the lifetime as well as a bunch of other stats. So from there, we've got our basic bolt. We can add even more bolts, right? This is all about modularity. So we have a basic bolt, we have a fire bolt, and we have a hypno bolt. And they all each have their own different little bits of stats. And so with those stats, what we do is we want to add them to obviously spell recipes, right? So in the spells, we actually reference the projectile. So it's got all of the projectile's data in it. But we also specify the delay between firing projectiles and the types of projectiles. So as the spell goes, spell 1 goes firebolt, wait 0.1 seconds, fire the normal bolt, wait 0.4 seconds, and fire the firebolt again. And we can set these all to have different delays and intervals. And in spell 2, obviously, because we're trying to make things modular, we have the first spell, do firebolt, normal bolt, firebolt, and we have the second spell, we have a hypno bolt, we wait 0.3 seconds, and then we fire a hypno bolt. And then finally, we need something to link the spells to. So what happens is that we have the spells, you can bind them to your little wand. And what the wand does is it basically says, hey, spell, what sort of projectiles do we need to fire? And it goes, oh, I need to fire this projectile, this projectile, this projectile. And every time it goes to a projectile, because it's referencing projectiles, it goes and it says, oh, what are the stats of here? What stats do I need to use in order to, when I shoot that? So that is the pipeline example. Alrighty, now, we've got another activity, Map Jam Duel. You guys ever played Map Jam Duel before? So, Map Jam Duel is guess the map theme that got the better ranking. So we're going to take a look. We're going to have two maps side by side, and we're going to get you guys to guess which map jam ranked better than the other. Ooh, barrier blocks, 8th tin, possibly in the future. So here's from a recent map jam. This is the Realms map jam. I want you guys to guess which map jam scored higher than the other in terms of ranking. So for example, a map that came first did better than a map that came third. Alrighty, I see a lot of answers. And the correct answer is Ozako. Well done to the chat. They got that correct. Alrighty, next one. This one's a bit of a tricky one. We've got Laser Labyrinth, and we've got Fuse Fury from a Yegs map jam. Oh, I see some Fuse Fury. Do I see anything else? I see the Laser Labyrinth. Ooh, it's very divided. But the correct answer is Fuse Fury. Congratulations to the people that got that. Alrighty, here's the third one. We got Gardens of Neglect, and we got Chicken Spicy Coleslaw Sandwich. Wow, what a map name, guys, right? Ooh, this one's a lot less. A lot of people saying Gardens. They would be right. It is Gardens. Gardens of Neglect. Alrighty, this one's a tricky one. This is from two different map jams, actually. We have Bank Bust, and we have Unnamed Portal Map. Sorry to Serena Studios in advanced. Okay, I see a little Bank Bust. A Portal Map. I see now a lot of Unnamed Portal Map. They are from different jams, but they still each got their ranking. The answer is Bank Bust. Bank Bust came fourth, and Unnamed Portal Map came nowhere near that. We're just looking at the rankings, okay? So a map that came first is better than a map that came third. Alrighty, we've got Avalon and the Eye of Erasthor. Different jams again. A lot of Avalon. Wow. Avalon, you guys got tricked up. It's actually the Eye of Erasthor that won the map jam. It came third in the map jam. Avalon, I believe, came eighth place. And finally, guys, this is our final one, Palindroid, and we've got Packet Delivery Service. One of these maps actually came first. You're trying to figure out which one. Yep, I see it. Packet Delivery Service, and you guys are good. And so we're thinking, why did we do this activity? Why do we have all the map jams here? And it's because of risky resource packs. And so what I'm going to say is, do textures matter? Textures do not matter. Map jamming, first and foremost, is all about gameplay mechanics, right? So we're trying to look to make a map that is functional. Not necessarily, I mean, obviously textures help contribute to your score, but the main scoring comes from your mechanics and from all the other factors in the jam, right? Is all always a functionality first thing. And I'll say that a beautiful and broken map is always going to score worse than a normal functional map. So if you take a look back at the examples in the map jamdle, unnamed portal map, it was a beautiful map, but it was a broken map. And so you can see that it would score a lot worse than a map that was working, for example, like the Eye of Erasthor or Avalon. Okay, heading back here. So you can still do a lot with textures without having a huge resource pack, right? You see it in maps like Ozako, you see it in Avalon. You don't need a lot of textures to make a map beautiful, and you don't need to texture entire maps to win a map jam. You just need enough textures to make the map stand out compared to the other competition, right? And don't be afraid to skip out on textures completely, especially if you're running solos and duos, where you might have your friend who's a builder and you might have yourself who's a coder. For example, me and Zifia. Now, forward. Custom music, a small breakaway. So I'm going to talk a little bit about custom music because custom music is also something really fun you can add to your maps. And it's something, I think a lot of people miss out on, but it can be really helpful. And I think especially a lot of people now are warming up to the fact that you need custom music in maps. So there are different websites you can use for custom music. The ones that I know are like Open Game Art, Pixelbay. You can even use Noteblock World, NBS. Hello, guys. And yeah, it's just good to have that stuff in the jam. So let's see, do we have another activity? No, we have testing time. So we're going to move on to sin 5. And that's that 1 hour is never enough, guys. You guys never give yourself enough time for the jam. The, the rule that I like to say is always the 24-hour rule for testing. So whenever you're planning out your map, you're going to block it out like this. You're going to have 2 hours for the ideation we talked about before. You have around 1.5 days minus, eating, drinking, sleeping for the jam. And then you have 24 hours that you use for your testing. And you might say, well, 24 hours, that's a very long time to, do the testing and whatnot. But we're not saying this that, the 24 hours you have to be testing. 24 hours is sort of like a flexible limit to say, hey, I'm going to stop doing all the big features. I'm just going to go in and you're going to move and you're going to do polish, right? So you're going to have the sort of, play testing, polish with teammates, bug fixing, and whatnot. So your players, they know more than you do, right? So you'll be testing. And I do recommend that you always test on your own, but it's always good to get other people testing, especially if you're in a jam team, like duos or trios. You can have for example, your artist and you can have your builder test while you're not around as the coder, right? So what I like to do, and especially with my jam team, Zifia, so we have sort of different schedules. I'm sort of like opposite sides of the world thing. So I'm sort of during the day, and then we meet up in the afternoon, have jam, and I'll go to sleep, and Zifia will still be on building, right? That is time while I'm sleeping, especially during the last day, that Zifia can go, hey, I'm gonna go test the map, and then come back in the morning. I wake up and I see a list of fresh stuff that Zifia's given me to fix and for feedback, right? So make sure you get other players to test. You can even get other players outside the jam to test, and I do recommend that. But also you can get your team members to test as well. And especially for non-coders, you want non-coders to test your map or people that didn't code the map. And now we're going to move on, the multiplayer nightmare. Now guys, if you're going to start off with the first jam, I do not recommend multiplayer. And multiplayer is kind of an interesting case because multiplayer you would think is alright for a jam, but actually it's surprisingly evil. And the evil bit is that you need to account for the extra time that you need to balance multiplayer maps, right? So you've not only got to fix bugs, fix codes, you also need to balance the game itself. And it comes down to two things. One, you actually need the players in order to test your multiplayer map. And just for even like for 4-player maps, you're not going to have enough just with your team of 1, 2, or even 3. It does depend on the jam. Obviously, if the jam is going to be a multiplayer map only jam, then sure. But multiplayer maps, we don't recommend. And if you are going to do multiplayer, I also say add an extra 12 hours to your testing time, alright? So usually it's 24, that becomes 36. And we say that because you're going to need the 12 hours to, play the game, test it, and figure out all the bugs, do all the balancing for all the classes, or all of the gameplay mechanics and whatnot. And yes, I said it before, but do try avoid making multiplayer maps as your first experience. It's a lot easier to do adventure maps, puzzle maps, parkour maps, just any single player map. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, ooh, creeper surprise. Did the monocle scare you guys? Yes or no? Alrighty, seat 6. Treacherous themes, guys. Oh, I heard a scream in there. That's excellent. Alrighty, so a lot of people, they get to the end, and this is coming back to the example with earthworms. People say that they followed the theme, and it's because, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million different reasons, right? If you need to give a 1 or 2 line paragraph to explain why a theme is in your map, then you probably didn't include the theme very well, if at all, right? So always never looking to include all the themes, especially if you're doing a jam with more than one theme. You want to include both themes. You don't want to include only one theme. And you don't need to be explaining in 10 million sentences why you had a theme in the first place anyway. So we're going to look at creative themes. So good creative themes are, for example, creative interpretations of the theme. So if you've got earthworms, maybe make a fun little game about a earthworm. He's like a business earthworm, and he used to go around into all of the little plants underground and give them, I don't know, he used to give them like briefcases of money or something. I don't know, it's a bit crazy, but I thought of it on the spot. Also, we're looking for unique theme interpretations. So a good one, for example, was if you played this Realms map jam for this year was The End of Time by Legitimus. Hello, Legitimus. That was a really fun creative map where you basically had to build out with flowers, and then the same flowers you used to build turn into your platforms, which you use to get back to your spawn island after collecting a star. And the third thing we're looking for with the themes is novel concepts. So twisting the theme in an unexpected way, right? So for example, in this jam theme, we got for the Realms Map Jam, I believe the theme was it was something to do with the resource management, right? And so what we did is we sort of put a twist on it rather than doing, the normal factory game. We made a sort of car washing simulator, right? So you have to manage, your inventory stock with all of your potions and products that you use to clean up the cars. And also you've got to manage your day, right? And then fourth thing I'll touch on is bending on themes. Don't be afraid to bend the two jam themes to fit to what you like, right? Especially if you've got more than one theme, you want to look at creative ways that you can mix the two themes together to make a unique and very fun experience. Alrighty, we've got a final activity, the Great Summit Quiz, guys. You ever played the Impossible Quiz before? It's like this, but it's the Summit Quiz. Wow, guys, yes, graphic design is my passion. So there's going to be 3 questions for this quiz. It's going to be very small, but I want to see if you guys can get this. So the first question, how many maps in a Fingermaps, guys? How many maps in a Fingermaps? I want you guys to put your answers in the chat. Okay, I see a lot of whats. Okay, the answer, guys, in the word Fingermaps, there's only one map. Okay, there's only one map in the phrase Fingermaps. How many maps in a Fingermaps, guys? How many maps in a Fingermaps? The answer is 1. Alrighty, next one. What is the maximum cost of an anvil? We got 31 iron. We got woodland mansion. We got 8 emeralds. And we got 2 expensive. You are correct. The answer is 2 expensive. Though you can find an anvil in a woodland mansion, you can craft an anvil with 31 iron. And the equivalent of buying iron from a villager to make an anvil comes out to 8 emeralds to get the iron needed. It is indeed too expensive when you do a max enchant on an anvil. Alrighty, and the final question, guys. Where does the Smith convention take place? Does it take place in the Summit Theatre, in the Smith Docks, right here, or on a forge? Guys, the Smith Summit is indeed right here, and if you don't think it's right here, then you're obviously smoking because you are in the jam at the moment, sitting down on these lovely little carpets that you got. So we're going to go to the final section, the final sin, and that is logging in and logging out. So the number one enemy of the map maker is spawn point. There's some voodoo magic stuff going on here. I don't know what it does, but it never puts you where you want to go, right? So whenever you start a map on top of a roof, they've been using slash spawn point. It's basically the devil's child of commands, all right? And so we want to look at ways that obviously we don't want to use spawn point, right? We want to use a teleport command, for example, teleport the players to the lobby before they start the game. And so this is where load versus player load comes in, and that's separately different. So a quirk that happens actually, when you load into a world, the load function actually runs before the player is loaded into the world. And that's a usual thing. Sometimes the player will load in at the same time as the load function, but usually the player loads in after the load function. And what's the problem with that? The problem with that, of course, is if the load function runs before the player, then any stuff in the load function targeting a player won't find it, right? Because the player hasn't joined the world yet. So what we do is we distinguish. We have a load function and we have a player load function. And the purpose of the player load function is basically a function that runs when the player is loaded into the world, right? So there are many ways you can do this. The way I like to do it usually is to just have a schedule command that after the load function is run, checks every tick or so to see if a player has entered the world using execute if at A, I believe it is. And if there is a player detected in the world, then it'll run the player load, right? And this is where we can have all of our commands that reference the player, like TP commands, give commands, loot table commands, and all that. Next, we're going to touch on entities, the great despawning. So if you're using vanilla entities, and you see this sometimes with maps, especially in vanilla map jams, they do not have the tag persistence required 1B. And why is that bad? You're going to log in, you're going to log out, and you're going to come back, and the entities are going to be gone, right? Because entities, they love to despawn on you if you don't give them the right tags, right? So make sure with your entities, you're setting them to persistence required 1B if you're using vanilla mobs. For example, we've got a little fish here, but it also applies to like pigs, zombies, all that jazz. And then finally, we've got cleaning up in style, advancement scores, and more. So before the jam, and I usually like to do this well before the jam deadline, you do want to clean up your advancement scores and your advancements and your scoreboards, and you do that through the folders in your Minecraft world, right? Now, I don't recommend you do this 1 hour before the jam because there is the potential of breaking something, but you do want to do it. And the reason we do it right, a lot of people in the jams, they'll just do /tag. They'll give themselves a custom tag or they'll give themselves a custom scoreboard, but they'll do it, but they won't do it in the actual data pack code itself, right? And so what ends up there is that when a new player joins, they're not given the right tag or they're not given the right code, right? Because it's not the code they gave it, it's yourself. You gave yourself the tag, right? So whenever you're cleaning up, clean up the world file, the world files, the world data files, and just make sure, right? You clean it up, you play the game, and then you see, oh, did I get this tag, yes or no? Or did I give myself the tag? And you'll know because your game won't work, right? So you go in. Oh, thank you for the preview. And so you'll see the score or the advancement, and you'll say, I didn't get that right. And so you can add that back into the data pack, knowing now that you didn't manually set it, that it's set by the code itself. Now, before we break, I have something I wanted to tell you that I was being a bit cheeky about. So you probably noticed that all of the images in the back are of B-roll, right? B-roll of different maps, Mapjam maps, including some from vendors that you know, like Game Mode 4. But I wanted to make sure that you guys were really, really paying attention, right? So in one of the B-rolls, there is actually a hidden little thing where instead I used a image from one of my data packs. Ooh, right? One of these is not a map, one of these is a data pack. I want you to tell me the name of the slide in which I had my data pack. And I don't expect you guys to get it because it is quite tricky, but let's see. The name on the top of the slide, or what the text that the slide said that had the data pack. Oh, I see a lot of answers. Ooh, were you paying attention? I'm not sure you guys were paying attention. Oh, don't worry, don't worry. It was very tricky. Ready, we're gonna head back till we get there. So guys, here we are. This is the evil slide. This is actually not an image of a map. This is a photo from one of my dimension data packs. I'm sorry you guys had to go through that. 1 hour is never enough was the answer. This was very evil. All right, but I just wanted to see if you guys were really paying attention. And you tried your hardest, but next time we can do better, right? We can do better. Okay, so we're gonna skip ahead. Actually, pretty ahead on time, guys. So we'll have a lot of time to do, hang on, the finale, which is the Q&A section of the jam. Yeah, it's not a map. It's a custom dimension, guys. Not a map. It's actually technically a data pack, but anyway. Yep. Well, I believe the Summit team has a Q&A doc that they have for me in which they want to put in questions and answers.
Yeah.
You
Great
guys are right. Data
presentation.
packs aren't vanilla. They are data packs. All right, if I wanted vanilla, I'd go buy it at the store, okay? I go buy it and I use it to make a cake, a vanilla cake, my favorite cake. All right, so let's check out the document. Does optimization like this even matter in a map jam? Look, the only thing I'm going to say is that I've made a map in a map jam before that was so laggy that the judging team considered it unplayable. So optimization does help, and please do optimization. You actually play said map on Fingermaps now. It was verticuloid, but we fixed that up. So it's not laggy anymore. Yeah, you could say skill issue on the part of the judges, but also skill issue on me for not realizing that the map was that laggy in the first place. All right, do we have any more questions coming in? Or do we have any audience questions that want to come in?
I got another one. What's your
Yep.
favorite map that you haven't made or worked on?
Okay, the favorite map that I've worked on is actually not a map that I made, but it's our most recent map, Battle of the Bands. I did the music soundtrack for that one, and that was just a really awesome sort of. If you've played Enter the Gungeon before, it's exactly like that, but it's themed off of Avid MC, which will be changing after the whole controversy and whatnot. But yes, that's definitely our favorite map. Second favorite map, definitely B-Boxed. B-Boxed a very popular map, but also had a lot of fun making the Python code without Beat. Funny enough, without Beat, which did the whole level editor. What's the most fun
Uh,
map jam you've ever played? I think the most fun one would have been the actual fun map jam from Yegs, where you could basically do whatever the hell you want, and you could even bring in uh, little snippets of code from all the jams as well, which was pretty awesome. All right, let's see. How many of my map jam submissions are still updated? The current standing on the map jam submission that is still updated is currently none at the moment, although our most up-to-date one is bboxed on 1.21.11. It's just a lot of work to update maps, and especially with some of them requiring shaders as well, we haven't had the time to take a look. Alrighty, how long have we been making maps for? So I started making maps in 2020 when Chubbins, who was the original founder of Fingermaps, actually saw a lot of my data packs, and he decided to recruit me onto the team just based off of the stuff I had done then. And so from there, that was 2020, and it's now 2026. So it's been around 6 years of me map jamming and data packing. Alrighty. Yep, so I've done that. What's the best way to get into map making with data packs? Is there docs or tutorials? I think the best way to get into map jamming, there isn't really docs or tutorials, but I think data packing is a good start, right? Because the fundamentals of map is on the code itself. And generally, maps these days will require a heavy amount of, at the very least, data packs, be it for code to run, advancements, predicates, and whatnot. But also, if you do have to use command blocks, then you can do it, but I wouldn't recommend it, as you saw in the one of the first slides. Okay, favorite data packing tools. We obviously have a Mesode, but my most favorite data pack tool, aside from Mesode, which is the obvious one, is Minecraft Stacker. You guys ever used Minecraft Stacker before? Minecraft Stacker is amazing. Do use Minecraft Stacker. It'll help you a lot, especially when creating entities. Alrighty, I've got another question. Favorite, oh yeah, favorite data pack tools I've done. How does one test a data pack outside of TPS if their map needs it for mechanics? The best way to test a data pack, not necessarily for optimization, is to just give it to if you have a friend, or if you have other jam members, you can give them to them like early, and you can have them test the pack for you, and they'll tell you, you know, what they liked about the map, what they hated about the map, what needs to be changed, and also, whether some parts are laggy or not. Okay. How do you handle jokes and or humor in your maps? Should we avoid jokes in maps? Maps, it's generally good to have jokes in maps, but keep in mind that there are certain things that, especially realms, if you do realms map making, won't allow. For example, they won't allow any sort of what's it called? Religious figures. They won't allow obviously swear words. They won't allow gambling or whatnot. So it's okay to add jokes, but just keep in mind who your target audience is and whether you plan to upload this to realms or not. Yeah, no gambling on realms. Unfortunate for the map they were made, which is basically just a glorified a bank heist. Alrighty. Take it slow and paced, or rush as much as you can. So, here's what I think, right? It's not about the scope overcreep, right? It's not about scope overcreep when you're rushing for a jam. It's about managing your time effectively, right? And so the way I like to think about it is that you're already losing one day on your jam just from sleeping, eating, and doing all the rest. So for a 3-day jam, that leaves you with 2 days, right? You're gonna have 24 hours to do obviously the testing, the testing, the bug fixing and whatnot. So that leaves you with one day, right? So realistically, when you go into a jam, you should plan for doing the jam in one day, and you should always think about not how you're going to do the whole jam, but how you're going to start with your main mechanic, right? So you spend your first days starting. Oh, how long does it take to develop the main mechanic? You spend one day on the main mechanic, and then from there you'll have lots of time, right? And so you think about, oh, I've got ideas for the main mechanic. How am I going to expand the main mechanic? And so you spend little bits of time doing that, and that's the key to success, right? So it's not necessarily about rushing. It's just about you start with the main mechanic. You think about, how much time do I have, and what do I want to do next with the main mechanic, right? Or how can I do X and Y with the main mechanic within the time? All right. How do you get past okay? How do you get past the part of learning programming where it is grueling? I'd say just keep trying and trying again, and I'd say start simple, right? Start with a very small, simple data packs, and you just Jam is all about doing it over and over, getting the experience. So just start small. Even if you fail in a map jam, it's still a good learning experience, and just work your way towards becoming a better coder. This is more of sort of like, a learning thing. But yeah, basically, I'd start small with data packs, and you can make some really simple data packs, like, for example, I know ones that change crafting recipes, or maybe ones that, like add different items that you can use to fuel beacons. Just small, easy packs that you can get done within a week or so is a good starting point. Okay, do you think Mojang supports data pack creation and map making? Mojang does support map creation and data pack, and you see a lot of it with the sort of new features that they're adding. Although I think the support for data packs isn't as much there as map making, obviously, because they don't have any sort of way for data packs to be uh, displayed or monetized, not like realms, which they have for maps. Well, yes, they've been investing a lot of technical stuff into there. They just haven't shown a lot of love for data packs at the moment, not like maps, which get their monthly realms releases, obviously. Okay, what are some good resources starting point for learning JSON? Bro, I don't even learn JSON. I just use Mesode, and Mesode will take care of all the JSON that I need to know. JSON, and of course, the other one, which is, I believe it is JSON Telraw, is the other website, which is a good website for making the sort of you know text text and UI within JSON. Okay, when you make okay, so there is one mod that I use for data packs, and it's a very cool one. It's NBT autocomplete. I'm not sure you guys have heard of NBT autocomplete before, but it's really nice, and it basically tells you what you need to do in entities. Not to mention also in VS Code as well, if you have Spyglass, which you should have Spyglass with your VS Code, that will also give you sort of little autocomplete helping hands for doing all sorts of like mob data and also tags as well. Yeah, can't live without it. So true. Alrighty, what client-side mods such as MBT editor would you recommend for map jamming? MBT editor. Oh, and of course, if you're a builder, also you got to use Axiom, right? Axiom is the very bestest builders tool, and you wouldn't go without it. Also, another one that like some builders like to use, especially my friend Zifia, is Easy Edit. I'm not sure you guys have heard of Easy Edit. It is paid, but it allows you to do really powerful stuff. So yes, a lot of people can't go with that Axiom. Easy Edit can do a lot, yes. Easy Edit can do a ton. Alrighty. What if I put all the start game logic in an MBS note function and don't tell any of my teammates asking for a friend? A NoteBlock Studio note. I mean, look, I've never even used NoteBlock Studio, so you're going way in over my head. But I'm just saying, if you don't tell your friends are not going to be very happy. It's peak. I'm gonna believe that it's peak, but your friends aren't gonna believe that it's peak, and they're gonna flatten you like a pancake when they find out. All right. Do you think preprocessors are good for map jams? Explain to me what a preprocessor is. Is that like beat beat bolt? I haven't actually used preprocessors because I am a older gormless chud, and I stick to old principles, which is coding with regular functions. But I imagine they're pretty good. I've heard from Turplanor, so take his word, I guess, that they're good, and take the obviously the beat and the stew beat words because they're here and they're gonna want to advertise their stuff. Okay, best sites or any recommendation to post maps? Okay, so good sites at the moment. Got minecraftmaps.com. This is the site that everybody uses, everybody posts on, because obviously it's the most popular website. You'd be killing yourself in the foot if you didn't post it, and that's where most of the YouTube traffic comes from. You do have Planet Minecraft, but Planet Minecraft isn't great. Another website is probably Mapverse is a pretty new website, and I'd be interested to see how they handle map submissions. And Smith, unfortunately, doesn't have maps yet. But Smith, if you had a map category, hit me up. I'll upload some maps there. All right. Do you recommend to divide your logic folders into game states? Logic or entity-driven logic? So generally, what I do for different logic is that, and this is not necessarily on the topic of folders, this is more in sort of like ticking. I will have each different entity and each different tag have their own ticking function. So I have the main tick, and I'll make a function for player tick. I'll have a function for the ticking of enemies, and I'll have the function for ticking of, for example, like items and power-ups. And so I'll have those all in their little separate manager folders. So if you're thinking like of entities, for example, or enemies, you'd have like a little enemy manager, right? You have an enemy manager folder, and there you can have its tick, its load. It's whatever you want to create in terms of names for logic and whatnot. Do you have any recommended resources for learning vanilla shaders? I do not actually, but Nels is pretty good with vanilla shaders. I'd ask him honestly. Right. How is Minecraft Stacker different than Misode? Misode doesn't let you create an entity, right? So if you want to create a zombie and have all these unique tags as well as like passages and whatnot, Misode isn't going to do that. Minecraft Stacker is specifically for commands, right? Misode is for all of the little files that you find, like variants for mobs, predicates. You also got recipes. So yeah, two completely different websites, two completely different functions, but you use both pretty well. Do you use Legitimus? I have not used Legitimus, but I hear they've got a pretty cool server in the Legitimus Reef booth. So go check them out in the patched plateaus. Do you use GamerGeeks? Nah, GamerGeeks, unfortunately. I mean, Minecraft Stacker does it, and the JSON Terror site also takes care of that. So GamerGeeks really is just kind of falling off the wayside. Plus, I don't know, the website just kind of funky, clunky. Oh wow, I think we got through a lot of the questions. We got through all of the questions. I will take a couple of questions because we still got 10 minutes if you want, or we can end this early and you guys can go be free and do your bidding. Opinions on Deltarune? I haven't played Deltarune, but I will say poop dog, which is what I said in the chat earlier. You never thought I'd say that. Where the hell is the last purple plushie? Man, I don't know. Why don't you tell me where the last purple plushie is? Then I can go find it. If you're making a custom book, what would you use to make it easier? Custom book, I would use the JSON lint. Oh sorry, not JSON lint. I think it's JSON Terror. The JSON Terror site is very good for making all sorts of. It does titles, it does action bars, it does the text in your chat, and it can also do books as well. What's the favorite map that I didn't make? Ooh, this one's a tough one. But I think if we're going off it alone, I actually, back in the day, had when you, in 1.9, they had the free Realms trial, right? I think they had like a 30-day free trial. I used that to play a map which you all well know. It's Diversity 2. And I still really enjoyed Diversity 2. So that would definitely be the favorite. Yes, Diversity 2, not the original Diversity. I have not played that one, but Diversity 2 is, like a childhood map. Otherwise, another favorite map, and this isn't technically a map, but the Overcast server, the Overcast network, that used to be my jizz. And they still have a server now, Overcast Community, which is really nice, and I do develop maps for that as well. But these are more of PvP maps than actual like Minecraft maps. Okay, let's see if I can scroll through. Do you have tools to access the vanilla assets and item components? Yes. Have you guys ever heard of a website? It's called minecraftasset.cloud. It has all of the vanilla assets and all of the vanilla tools. If you're not using it, use it. Use it. Use it. Use it. Yes, minecraftasset.cloud for accessing vanilla assets, especially for resource packs. Or it might be mcasset.cloud. Yes, so actually, let them complete. Yep, have you ever organized a map jam? Yes. So we've done 2 finger maps map jams. We did one, I believe, in like 2020 to 2022, and we had one recently, I believe, in 2024. And so the 2024 one was the theme was, I believe, was in control, and we also had a couple of inspirational images which you could use for the builders to, the builders had to build with the inspirational images. The best map of the jam is Cyflora. It was made by I think I forget the name. A guy with duck in his name. Anyway, a good map. Play that map. It's a fun map. You'll enjoy it. Favorite Smith Summit boot. Ooh, you got me on a bit of a hook here because I haven't really played. But of course, I'm gonna say my own booth is my favorite because I am very biased and I like to favoritism. The website again for book creation is let me pull it up. I believe it is Jason Telraw. Yeah, Telraw generator for Minecraft is what it's called. Yes, they should make a website for a list of all the tools and mods for map making. Maybe if Smith ever adds a map making section, hit me up. I can make a little guide. All right, let's see if we got more questions in the document. What upcoming maps do you know of that you are looking forward to? Ooh, I haven't really been looking much at upcoming maps. But from memory, I saw a few maps from Monday Maps that just released. Let's see if I can grab the name of that now. Monday Maps announcements. Yes, it was Project Elk seems like a pretty cool Monday Maps map. Oh, and also Masquerade. Masquerade also seems pretty interesting. I did a little tutorial in there. I already told you the favorite map that I played, and that was Diversity 2. Diversity 2, and I have never used Diamond Fire. No, I have not used Diamond Fire. Okay, what is better for map jams? Maps that oppose Minecraft mechanics or maps that support them? I think there are two sides of it. One, obviously, maps that support Minecraft mechanics, right? They're very easy to code, but they're also unnecessarily as creative, right? Because they're sticking to the bounds of Minecraft. On the other hand, if you have the time, maps that oppose Minecraft mechanics compose something really interesting for map jam judges. Because one, they're no, I hang on. Let me finish this question first. So maps that oppose Minecraft mechanics, one, they're very unique and very interesting, right? Because the map jams, what do you call it? A judge is going to come in and they're going to say, oh, this is the way that the map works. That's very cool and that's very different from Minecraft. And yeah, okay. So Evergrowth. I do need to try Evergrowth at some point, but I hear that's pretty fun. Are there any genre of games you think are largely incompatible with Minecraft as a medium in regards to map jams? I think I can't really think of any on the top of my head that are specifically not, but I would say that definitely bullet hells are going to be your toughest go for Minecraft map jams, especially with the amount of entities they need. Like it's very fortunate that the map that we have at the moment, Battle of the Bands, does run performant because of the optimization that we've done with the map, and also reducing some of the bullets on the attacks. But there have been times in that map where it has gotten a bit laggy. So yes, I'd say bullet hells, but also I can't really think of any other genres. Okay, let's see. What's your favorite non-Minecraft game? Okay, so I have a lot of favorite games. I think Cherry Kavanaugh's 6 Vs. That one's pretty awesome. V. Obviously, I like Minecraft. Robocraft 2, the original version, was really nice. And I'm trying to remember. Portal's a good game. There are lots of good games, but I can't think of all of them off the top of my head. Am I using data pack libraries? To be honest, I've used a raycast library once, and it was for the map that was so unperformant that it completely broke the judges' setups. So I don't really use data pack libraries, but if I ever need to use raycasting again, then yes, I will be. What's my favorite type of data pack to make? My favorite type of data pack to make is the one where I put it up on Modern, it gets 1 million downloads, and it makes me like $30 a month. That's my favorite data pack. I'm in it for the money, guys. Yeah, I know. Rich, rich person talking, right? But yes, the Dungeons Plus data pack, which is a sort of adds dungeons to your world. It's a very nice, easy world gen data pack. I don't need to do much code. I just need to every now and again build custom structures, so it's really nice and satisfying. But yes, sitting on cash and I'm feeling great. And because it's 30 in USD, it converts even more to sure. Minecraft spin-off games. I've never actually played Minecraft spin-off games except for the obviously the bootlegs on the phone. Like I think there was one where it was a sort of like a monster truck driving app, which was obviously clearly like a Minecraft clone, but it was pretty fun. Just some random ass Minecraft like driving up with like fuel and the ramps, those sorts of garbage. Yes. And we should close it off here because it's 9:59 and the hour is allotted. But we got through a ton of questions, guys. All right, let's kick it off to RX, who I've got the sniper scope on, so that
Yeah.
we can get this hurried up.
Yeah. Thanks Techno Dono for uh presenting map jam sins for us. And
Yep,
if you all want to check out the Fingermaps booth, it's in the Texture Tropics. Actually, I
yep,
think it's
it's right around the corner.
somewhat
Yep,
near us. Yeah. So go ahead and go to the main server. Other than that, take care, everyone, and we'll see you at the next
yep.
Q&A in a couple hours. So
Yeah,
thank
no
you.
problem, guys. Bye bye, fellas, and enjoy Monsieur Creeper for one more time before we go. Look at him, so beautiful.